Yes, good morning and welcome back to the Football Tribe YouTube channel. Robert Kesakos is your usual suspect. Welcome back to yet another live broadcast on the morning sports update. So it's a Thursday morning and I hope all you guys are doing well. I hope you guys are doing well. I hope you're all right. I hope everything is running smoothly for you. Today morning, we're going to be discussing Liverpool's pursuit for Alexander Isak. Looks like they are not relenting down in their pursuit for breaking the transfer record, both in the Premier League and possibly maybe Europe. So we're going to be talking that and more, a little bit of the FIFA Club World Cup. And among other things, So, but Liverpool it looks like they're not willing to back down. They're not willing to back down in their pursuit for the 25-year-old Swedish striker, and yet their would-be competitors for the same player seem to have already given up. Whether that's pretty much the case, or they think they still have a chance, let's wait and see. But I thought the news has been too persistent that I thought we should revisit it. I know we've talked about it in recent times, in recent days, but I thought, it's become a bit persistent that we ought to give it maybe sort of the necessary focus it deserves, and maybe more attention, because there's a lot of truth to it. I think it's been an open public secret that Liverpool were interested in signing the player, but so we're going to be excuse me. So we're going to be talking about that and more. But before we get into that, I wish to send my vote of thanks to all our usual suspects on the channel. I may not be able to mention all the names pound for pound or name for name, but at least President Kosi, Peter Parker, Maria Momoto, Koyo Amlen, and Ahmed Septa, Vanna. Vanna was trying to give me some sort of suggestions in regards to how we should run this channel. And feedback is always welcome, both especially when it comes to constructive criticism. Really, he thought maybe we're being too broad, but I mean that's football. I mean, given the way I love the sport. I think it would be really, really hard for me to say I'll just sit here on a daily basis and talk about one club, really, as he seemed to suggest. So, but that's why my ambition is to be able to bring you as much information as I can, as much news as I can across the Premier League, most importantly, but then and also some updates from other major leagues, because if there's major news at Real Madrid, at Barcelona, at Atletico Madrid, then I have no reason as to why I should be denied you the opportunity of knowing that news. If there's major news at Bayern Munich or Paris Saint-Germain, why not? If there's major news at Juventus, Inter Milan, Napoli, AC Roma, AC Milan, why not? So, but in other words, thank you so much. Thank you so much, by the way. Team India, Team UK, Team Uganda, Team Kenya, Team Nigeria. I was looking at some of our statistics, and those are some of the countries that are consuming our content the most. They are the ones that supporting us the most. That's UK, Nigeria, Uganda, Kenya, in no particular order. India, of course. So thank you so much all across board for your love and support for this channel. I pray that you do continue with the same breadth. And anyways, without wasting any further ado, let's get right to it. Today is the D-Day, the much awaited day, in as far as that deal for Florian Wirtz to Liverpool is concerned. Not that it is going to get announced today, but at least the player is expected to travel to the UK today to do his first part of his medical, and then possibly look to complete the second part of the medical tomorrow before he does, his media duties with the club, and then officially will be unveiled as a Liverpool player. That's the 22-year-old German international Florian Wirtz, who they are signing from Bayer Leverkusen for up to 116 million pounds. That's in 100 million pounds guaranteed and 16 million pounds in add-ons. That's roughly about 135 to 136 million euros. Although, hi Ghost 711, Ghost from South Africa. Hi my brother, how are you doing? Welcome to the Footballtribe UG channel. We are coming to you live from Kampala, Uganda. Thanks for joining us this morning. Kindly like the broadcast, please, and also consider subscribing to the channel if you're new here and help support what we do. So, like I continuously reaffirm, according to sources in Germany, if everything goes successfully for Florian Wirtz at Liverpool, then the total deal will rise up to 150 million euros in all add-ons if they are all achieved. Now, usually add-ons are oftentimes ambiguous or even very ambitious. Some are ambiguous, others are very ambitious. So, for example, usually one of the phrases they normally put in some of these contracts, depending on the player's profile and where he's going to play, is if, for example, the player were to win the Ballon d'Or, then that brings that should be able to fetch in more money for the parent club that is selling him. So, for example, if Liverpool, let's say Florian Wirtz were to win the Ballon d'Or while wearing the Liverpool shirt or in Liverpool jersey, then maybe that gets, Bayer Leverkusen 10 million euros, just that as an achieved add-on. So it's that kind of thing that usually rises the transfer fees or the deals to those heights. Liverpool will be dangerous next season, without a doubt. When you look at what they are looking to accomplish in the market, that scares the crap out of me, if I'm being honest. As an Arsenal fan, but also as a football enthusiast overall, it sort of scares me a bit because I do not think we are really accustomed to the idea of one team being overly dominant in the league, especially when it comes to the Premier League. I know Man City have done it the last couple of years, and they went on to win 4 straight Premier League titles. I know Manchester United did it between 2007 and 2009. They won the 3 consecutive Premier League titles, but we've never had the kind of spell where you have a team winning 7 league titles in a row, something that has happened to at Lyon before. When you look at Paris Saint-Germain in France, I think they've missed out on only 2 titles in the last couple of years, or in the last 1 decade, because you go back to Monaco, I think winning it under Leandro Jardim, and then Christopher Galatier recently guiding, was it Lille, to the triumph or the title. So, but all there in between, you look at, PSG's dominance. You go to Germany, Bayern Munich's dominance has been there for ages. I mean, in the last over 1 decade, it's only Bayer Leverkusen that has lifted that title. So we do not want that. I do not think we are prepared for that kind of happening in the Premier League. You say, August 711 says, Arsenal, I'm a Liverpool fan. Yes, thank you, and congratulations to you, August. Well, I do acknowledge that I'm an Arsenal fan. I continuously reiterate that I be as objective as there can be when it comes to looking at other teams in the Premier League, whether it's Manchester United, whether it's Liverpool, whether it's Chelsea, whether it's Tottenham Hotspurs, who you think maybe Arsenal have the biggest rivalry with. But yeah, when it comes to Liverpool, it sort of scares the crap out of me in regards to what they're attempting to do in the market. And if they are to be successful in doing that, when you look at the age profile of these players that they are bringing in or they are looking to bring in, then they could easily dominate the league for the next 3, 4, 5 years. So Florian Wirtz is getting over the line. Like I said, he's traveling to the UK after his vacation to do his medicals and then complete that move. Then after that, next week, we do expect that Liverpool will look to complete the deal for Milos Kakez from AFC Bournemouth. For a reported fee of about £40 million. That's according to Ben Jacobs. So, I mean, we're talking about a Liverpool side that we knew over the years had been a bit dependent on Alexander Trent-Arnold and Andy Robertson on their right and left flanks, respectively, in regards to being the overlapping fullbacks, providing many assists in there. Alexander Trent-Arnold with his signature long pass of the ball, quite impressive and immaculate with it. So you look at that, and then you look at the people they are replacing them with. Milos Kakez, he was in my Premier League team of the season, last season. So there's that. So that tells you how good a player he is, and still only 21 years of age for the Hungarian international, who Bournemouth, by the way, signed from AZ Alkmaar. I think that was in January of 2023. And then, of course, he had joined AZ Alkmaar from AC Milan as a youngster. But then you then look at Jeremy Frimpong. Again, he's not so different from Alexander Trent-Arnold. From what I'm reading, is that defensively he has some bit of inefficiencies, but I think he can work on that as well. But going forward, he's very electric, a very accomplished player in making those overlaps. So it sort of scares me a bit that Liverpool are getting all that firepower, despite the fact that Atletico Madrid are interested in signing Andy Robertson from Liverpool at the age of 31. But should they fail to win over Andy Robertson from Liverpool, then they will switch to Lucas Digne of Aston Villa. Ghost, you say, what do you think about Real Madrid and Barcelona at title race next season? Then I hear Konate wants to leave, so we might need a new defender. Maybe let's speak about Barcelona and Real Madrid in the subsequent minutes. But for now, let's first complete things with Liverpool. Yes, when it comes to Ibrahim Konate, Real Madrid are circling around. We all know that he has 1 year left to his current contract. Liverpool have tried to engage him into contract renewal talks, but that is yet to bear fruit. They are yet to reach an agreement. Whether they will eventually reach an agreement remains to be seen. But it's become quite common that players see out their contracts and eventually deal for free. We've seen it with Kylian Mbappe. We've seen it with literally Alexander Trent-Arnold. Had it not been for the FIFA Club World Cup, then Liverpool wouldn't even have gotten a single penny out of him, although eventually they were able to get 10 million euros. So, and we've sort of seen it elsewhere happen. So really, it's quite interesting. But Real Madrid do have really some concrete interest in signing Ibrahim Konate, and he's yet to agree to a new contract. So he could easily see out the remainder of his contract and then join Real Madrid next summer. And remember, once a player is at the club and they have only 6 months left with their current contract, then they are allowed to split to clubs in foreign countries. So, for example, if you're playing in the Premier League and you only have 6 months left to your current contract, when it comes to the January transfer window, you're allowed to speak to teams from the Spanish La Liga, from the German Bundesliga, from the Italian Serie A, from the French League One, or elsewhere that you may want to play, you may see your future in. So, I mean, that is the case with Ibrahim Konate. So, yes, it is a possibility that they could leave. But even if he were to stay, Liverpool still need to sign a centre-back, because while Virgil van Dijk is good, reliable, let's be honest, he's also coming to the climax of his career in as far as being a top player is concerned. At least that's my expectation, or that's how I view it. But secondly, Liverpool are on the verge of losing Joel Konsa to Bayer Leverkusen, because Bayer Leverkusen are really, really interested in him. And I do think that Bayer Leverkusen and Liverpool have a relationship good enough to accommodate, the conclusion of that deal. Although it's not yet advanced, but at least that interest has been since registered. He's valued at about 40 to 50 million pounds, only 22 years of age. So if Liverpool are also going to lose him as a backup player, then clearly they ought to go and attack the market for a centre-back. Unfortunately, I've not really had so many names of centre-backs that are being linked with a potential move to Liverpool. Unless, Ghost, you've had any, you could help us highlight them down in the comment section. If there are any significant names as far as defenders are concerned, or centre backs that have been linked with a potential move to Liverpool. But as of to date, I've really not seen any or read any sounding names in regards to centre backs being linked with a potential move to Liverpool. But one of the considerations therein has been Mark Gahey from Crystal Palace. A lot of teams are circling around him, including Chelsea, Newcastle. Somehow, for some reason, whatever the case is, Arsenal have been mentioned in that conversation. I do not know why, but it is what it is. Then you don't go to say Liverpool is after Isak too would be dangerous. Yes, that's the gist of today's topic. Liverpool are seriously considering making a move for Alexander Isak. Now, they do know that making a deal will be quite expensive. But according to Ben Jacobs of Gimme Sport, he says that Liverpool are willing to break the bank to sign the 25-year-old Swedish striker. Now, Alexander Isak is quite an impressive striker. For somebody that does follow a fair share of La Liga football, I used to really enjoy watching him at Real Sociedad, especially when Martin Odegaard was still there on loan from Real Madrid and they were playing in the same composition of that squad. And then you had, of course, Mikel Merino. You had Martin Zubimendi in that team. They looked really, really good. They really looked good. So that's when I first appreciated him. And I remember him being linked with a potential move to Arsenal. And I used to tell to myself, Arsenal not better sleep on the job. There is a very, very good player in Alexander Isak. Unfortunately for Arsenal and any other big suitors, they slept on the job and he ended up at Newcastle. That's in the summer of 2022. And he's arguably gone on to be one of the best strikers in the world, if not the best, depending on how you sort of analyze him. So let's look at his numbers per se. When he had just joined Newcastle, that was 2022-2023. That was his full debut season in the Premier League. He's only scored 10 goals and provided 1 assist in 22 league appearances. Of course, injuries being a factor in that first campaign, but also he was trying to get himself acclimatized to the environment of the league and things of that nature. Then two, the subsequent season, which was 2023-2024, he made more appearances. He made 30 appearances in the Premier League and scored 21 goals. So you can see he doubled his goal contribution. He scored 21 goals and provided 2 assists. That's a 24 goal involvement in 30 games. So on average, he basically was scoring a goal or providing the goal in all those games but 4. So then you look at the subsequent season, which was last season, 2024-2025. He posted a goal involvement of 29. He scored 23 goals, provided 7 assists, which was quite impressive. I mean, every time you watched Alexander Isak in that Newcastle jersey, in that black and white of the monkey piece, you couldn't help but feel impressed. I do remember watching him again in the finals of the Carabao Cup. How he really tormented that Liverpool defense, how he was able to get in behind of Virgil van Dijk. He was quite really impressive. Then you also look at the way he plays against big teams. You remember he was the punisher when they were beating up against Arsenal by 1-0. He scored that header at St. James's Park. Then they went on to beat Arsenal home and away in the semi-finals of the Carabao Cup. I mean, he's that imposing of a player, big in big games, even better in smaller games and things of that sort. So he's really a very impressive player. And I just can't help it imagine, because Liverpool know that any potential deal for Alexander Isak would be really expensive to pull off. That they pretty much know. Similar to any other teams that hold interest in Alexander Isak, Arsenal being one of those that have been mentioned or widely been reported according to the Athletic that they do hold interest in the Swedish striker. But according to Gimme Sport, they say that Liverpool are willing to break the bank. They are willing to smash their own record that they have set, which is a transfer record fee for Florian Wirtz in the excess of £116 million to sign him from Bayer Leverkusen. They are willing to, break that if it means they get Alexander Isak. And of course, estimates have it that if any club were to take away Alexander Isak from Newcastle, it could cost them no less than £120 million to 150. So that's the estimate by market valuation. So let's assume that because Newcastle are under no pressure whatsoever to sell, the player still has 3 years left to his current contract. 2, the player is happy at Newcastle. What his suitors had sort of hoped to prey on was the fact if Newcastle had failed to qualify for UEFA Champions League, because we know these big players want to be playing for teams that are in the UEFA Champions League. But guess what? Newcastle were able to achieve that despite losing by goal to nil on the final day of the season when they lost to Everton. So Newcastle has UEFA Champions League football. He's on really, really good wages. In fact, there were conversations at the tail end of last season that they wanted to extend his contract and even improve his wages further, given his contribution to the team. When you look at last season, across all competitions, he made 42 appearances and had a 33-goal involvement. He scored 27 goals and provided 6 assists across all competitions. So that's quite impressive. And he helped Newcastle sort of break or end their trophy drought, winning the Carabao Cup when they beat Liverpool by 2-1 to win the EFL Cup, the first major trophy that they were winning in 70 years, ever since the city's it's called what? The City's Cup back so many years ago. So really, really quite impressive. He's really an all-accomplished player. When you look at his dribbling, at his passing rate, when you look at his pace, when you look at his power, when you look at his aerial presence, he's quite imposing. When you look at his hold-up play, his everything, he just ticks everything in the box for a striker. And you can imagine putting him in a Liverpool side that creates loads of chances. When you have Mohamed Salah, when you have Luis Diaz, when you have Cody Gakpo, when you have when you're getting Florian Wirtz, who for the last 2 seasons, that's 2025, 2024, and then 2023, 2024, did average at least more than 10 assists in the Bundesliga winning in their Bundesliga winning season. He provided 11 assists and scored 11 goals. That's a 22-goal involvement. The last season, he scored 10 goals and provided 12 assists. So combine all that effort and then put it in front of a very good finisher like Alexander Isak, and then Liverpool could really, really go on to be unstoppable. So that is what should be scaring Premier League opponents, that at least out of all they've already gotten, that Liverpool do not add on Alexander Isak. Whether he stays at Newcastle or goes away from the Premier League, which I do not think will happen, by the way, not at least this season or at the start of next season, remains to be seen. But at least that will be quite the ambition or the prayer for all Premier League opponents, because if Liverpool were to land him, then it would really, really be more than a big statement, because signing Florian Wirtz is already a huge statement for the Reds in terms of backing Arne Slot, who won the league title last season, but then adding Alexander Isak would go a great way. You do say, have you heard anything about Diaz? There were rumors that he might leave, but it's very quiet about him. Yes. Now about Luis Diaz. Yes, there have been rumors, multiple rumors, that he could leave Liverpool this summer. We all know the 28-year-old Colombian international only has 2 years left to his current contract. But Liverpool are not strangers in sort of, I don't know, should I call it sleeping on the job when they let their players run down their contracts or enter the final year of their contracts without having them renewed. The player did acknowledge that the club had not yet put on table any contract talks whatsoever, and he did acknowledge that he and his representatives were speaking to other clubs. And however, he did also reaffirm that he wasn't looking forward to pushing or forcing a move away from Liverpool. He said he is happy in Liverpool, he's happy in the city. He has been warmly welcomed by the fans and people at large around Liverpool. So he's really happy. He will have no qualms whatsoever seeing out the remainder of his contract, which is 2 years left to it. But among the teams that are interested in his services is Barcelona. Now, Barcelona did make an approach to Liverpool to try and sign him. However, Liverpool rebuffed those interests. Now, we all know that Barcelona are in the market for a winger, and among their targets was Marcus Rashford, Luis Diaz, and now Nico Williams. It looks like, from the look of things, it looks like they are now focusing on signing Nico Williams from Atletico Bilbao. That's the 22-year-old Spanish international. But Luis Diaz has been subject to speculation linking him with a potential move away from Liverpool. He was at one point also linked with a potential move to Arsenal and I think Chelsea. But more importantly, he has strong interest also from the Saudi Pro League. However, there are some reports that he does prefer to remain in Europe as opposed to going to the Saudi Pro League. But let's wait and see, because it's going to be a long summer transfer window that runs until I think the 1st of September. So let's wait and see how Liverpool do handle their squad, because while they are bringing in players, the expectation is that some will continue to go. Alexander Arnold has already left. The goalkeeper Kelleher has already left for Brentford in an £18 million deal. So because Brentford were replacing Mark Flecken that has since joined Bayer Leverkusen. So very, very good goalkeeper. But Liverpool were able to make that deal because last summer they had already signed Mamad Dashville. I think he's 24 or 25 years of age, as a backup goalkeeper. Only that they had left him on loan to Sevilla last season. So in regards to the potential of Luis Diaz leaving, yes, there are really, really good speculation or significant speculation that cannot be dismissed, linking Luis Diaz with the potential move away from Liverpool. Then, still speaking Liverpool, Cody Gakpo is the other player that is being targeted by Bayern Munich in their bid to replace Leroy Sané and possibly Kingsley Coman, who is expected to leave the club after the FIFA Club World Cup. Out of their considerations on their shortlist, Cody Gakpo, the 26-year-old Dutch international, does feature on that list for Bayern Munich, alongside Kaoru Mitoma, Rafael Leao, Bradley Barcola, and Nico Williams. Now, with Nico Williams giving his priority to Barcelona, Bayern Munich are simply sitting in waiting to see if that deal doesn't go through, or if it does collapse, then maybe they can pounce on that opportunity, but they are already assessing their options. They also are aware that doing a deal for Bradley Barcola, equally 22 years of age, for the French international would be a bit too difficult, perhaps even too expensive to pull off, as opposed to that of Nico Williams. Of course, the sticking point for Nico Williams is his wage demands. However, in the work of Barcelona's interest, he's willing to take lesser wages to see out his dream move to Barcelona. But so Cody Gakpo is the other Liverpool player that is being linked with a potential move away from Liverpool. The other player being linked with a potential move away from Liverpool is the 25-year-old Uruguayan striker in Darwin Núñez. This one is a target for AC Napoli, who are really, really looking to sign a striker. They did send out an offer for Jonathan David, who is a free agent after leaving Lille at the end of the season. That's he's 25 years of age for the Canadian international, managed to score about 16 goals in the French League One last season. Quite very impressive, striker. But also Napoli are prioritizing Darwin Núñez as their primary target in terms of bringing in a striker. Now, Napoli have already held talks with Darwin Núñez's camp, and they are looking to have more, conversations with him over a potential move to Italy. But should they fail in all those attempts, then they could go for Manchester United's Rasmus Højlund, who is also of interest to Inter Milan. You say he's very inconsistent, but I do like him. I think you're referring to Darwin Núñez. If you're referring to Darwin Núñez cost, then I do agree with you, because when you look at Darwin Núñez's numbers, they're not really the best in terms of his goal contribution at Liverpool. But that notwithstanding, I think there is a very, very good player in there. When you look at the spaces he does occupy, that he does find himself in, he's not been clinical, if I'm being honest. If we are being honest, I think that's where our criticism of him would come, that he's not been clinical. But overall, I think he's been a very, very good player. When you look at, for example, last season, I thought last season was quite underwhelming. He scored only 5 goals and provided 2 assists in 30 Premier League appearances, while the season before that, he had the 19-goal contribution in 36 appearances. Of course, he had played more games, and of course, he got to start more games as opposed to how many games he did start last season. But still, 11 goals and 8 assists, 11 goals in when you're playing in a Liverpool setup, is still shy for a striker who was bought quite expensively for fee rising up to 7 to maybe 85 million pounds from Benfica. That was in July 2022. So let's wait and see. But at least I certainly do agree with you on that front. He got some big important goals for the club when we really needed it. Yes, that's true. I also look back at that game in the 2023-2024 season. If you do remember, Liverpool, I think we were playing at St James's Park. There were a goal down. That goal had been scored by Gordon, Anthony Gordon, and then he came off the bench when Liverpool were down to 10 men, and he banged in 2 important goals that helped Liverpool win that tie by 2-1. So he does have that presence that can give you that magical moment. However, his lack of consistency has always been an issue, but Napoli, I do think he is the perfect fit for them, and they are really, really looking to bring him on board as their next primary target for a striker. But let's wait and see how all that transpires. So those are some of the players that are being linked with a potential move away from Liverpool, but also the incomings as well. Maybe the other player is Harvey Elliott, is one to watch. He could also leave Liverpool this summer. He has a lot of interest from the likes of Nottingham Forest, Leeds United. Apparently, Bayer Leverkusen were interested, but it looks like that news has sort of cooled down a bit, or that interest has been cooled out a bit, especially in the wake of Fran Witt's deal being complete. And now Bayer Leverkusen may be switching their attention to apparently Jack Grealish, but also what's the other player? There's another player they've been linked with a move to as a potential replacement for Florian Wirtz. So, but let's wait and see how everything does transpire around, Liverpool. You say, yes, he scored 2 goals in the last 2 minutes. Yes, you do remember that game perfectly well against Newcastle. That was in the 2023-2024 Premier League season. So there is a very good player in that. In fact, I've been following certain forums among Manchester United fans and Arsenal fans, although for Man United, given the rivalry that does exist between Liverpool and Man United, it is a bit too difficult that they get to do a transfer deal together. But also, as some Arsenal fans, I think maybe in a desperate attempt or clamor for a striker, they've said, why don't we look at Darwin Núñez? I think he will be a player too expensive, and yet his sort of delivery is still inconsistent or lacking a bit from what we've been able to see of him at Liverpool. That's what I would say about that. But so overall, if Liverpool really do get it their way, I really, really sort of feel scared, because even when it comes to cup competitions, by the way, Alexander Isak never fails to turn up, because when you look at, for example, the EFL Cup last year, he managed to score 3 goals in 6 appearances. That's contribution enough that gets you to the next level, the next stage. He's good at scoring very, very important goals in important games. So, but let's wait and see if Liverpool do achieve all their targets. Meanwhile, Liverpool have also been linked with a potential move for Bradley Barcola, because apparently they want a winger. And Bradley Barcola is one of those they have their sights on. Again, another very, very expensive player if Liverpool were able to get him. But also, let's not forget that in substitution for Alexander Isak, should they fail at that attempt, they also have very strong interest in signing Hugo Ekitike from Eintracht Frankfurt. He does turn 23 years of age tomorrow. So let's almost call him a 23-year-old, because he turns 23 years of age tomorrow. But they are not the only ones in contention for Hugo Ekitike, as Chelsea and Man United are equally in that conversation for a player who is valued at about 100 million euros. That's for Hugo Ekitike. So let's keep, our eyes out on those deals and see whether indeed Liverpool will make good of that. Anyways, guys, it's been 30 minutes of us dedicating that first segment to Liverpool. So, but maybe to wrap it up there with Liverpool, let's conclude the topic with all the transfer gossip that is making the rounds as of this morning, because Arsenal and Manchester United targeting Victor Gyökeres. Apparently, he has refused to have clear the air talks with Sporting Lisbon and has threatened to go on strike as he tries to force a move away from the Portuguese side. That's according to the Mirror. I do not think the relationship is yet that sour, but I mean, anything can happen with player relationships and clubs. We did see what happened with Victor Osimhen and Napoli. Meanwhile, again, in the course of this week, Liverpool were linked with the potential consideration move for Victor Osimhen, on the 26-year-old Nigerian striker who has been a target for so many teams, including Juventus, Chelsea, Galatasaray, Al Hilal, among others, really, that would be interested in signing him. Then Fulham have apparently rejected an offer of £26 million with a further £6 million in add-ons from newly promoted side Leeds for their striker Rodrigo Muniz, but Fulham are themselves considering a move for PSV Eindhoven and United States striker Ricardo Pepi, only 22 years of age, who is being monitored by several Spanish clubs. That's according to Fabrizio Romano. And then Arsenal fullback Maz Luis Kelly is close to signing a new contract extension at Arsenal despite interest from Real Madrid. Then Arsenal are losing their assistant head coach in Carlos Cuesta, who is joining Parma at only 29 years of age, possibly going to be the youngest foreign manager in the history of Italian football. Carlos Cuesta, the Spanish international, has been an assistant head coach at Arsenal. He was sort of promoted to that role after Steve Ward left the club. Then, Ghost, if you're still with us, do let me know what your thoughts are on Pep Linders, the former Jurgen Klopp assistant, joining Pep Guardiola's coaching staff. He's now Pep Guardiola's assistant. I do not know if you managed to catch that game between Man City and Wydad Casablanca, but if you did, you must have seen him next to Pep Guardiola there on the technical bench. Do let me know what your thoughts are on that, if you're still with us, Ghost. Then, of course, Chelsea retain interest in Aston Villa's Morgan Rogers, another very, very impressive player. Arsenal are also interested in his services. He did score, I think, 8 goals and provided 10 assists. Last season. Very, very impressive youngster there at Aston Villa, who has attracted interest from so many teams. He did join Aston Villa in February 2024 from Middlesbrough. There, he was signed for about 12 to 15 million pounds. Thereabout. So very, very impressive youngster, who is now valued, by the way, at about 70 to 90 million pounds. Then we've spoken about Alexander Isak and Liverpool. Aston Villa are willing to sell 28-year-old midfielder. That's Emi Buendia. I think this one, they did sign him from Norwich City, but looks like things have not really worked out. Chelsea have made initial contact with Brighton over the signing of João Pedro, only 23 years of age, the Brazilian forward from Brighton there, who is also a target for Newcastle. Newcastle have already approached Brighton over the possibility of signing João Pedro. Then Brentford have put a £15 million price tag on DR Congo striker Yohan Wissa, who is a target for Nottingham Forest, Tottenham Hotspurs, apparently Arsenal, Fenerbahce, and Galatasaray. That's according to Team Talk. While Nice and Ivory Coast forward Ivan Guessend, 23 years, is attracting interest from Leeds and Tottenham, who have both made contact with the players' representatives. England goalkeeper Nick Pope doesn't want to leave Newcastle, despite Newcastle's interest in signing James Trafford from Burnley. And by the way, there, Scott Parker, the Burnley manager, saying he wouldn't want to lose James Trafford. He's, by the way, very, very good young goalkeeper, very good with his feet. I do remember watching him multiple times when they were still under the charges of Vincent Kompany. That was in the 2023-2024 Premier League season, after Vincent Kompany had guided them to promotion, but also got them relegated in the same season, in that season, before he left the club to join Bayern Munich. So that's the latest in as far as transfer gossip is concerned from across the globe. or especially in the Premier League. From the Premier League, really. Then maybe briefly, the updates from the FIFA Club World Cup is, apologies. Okay, yes. Some updates from the FIFA Club World Cup. Juventus did beat up against Al Ain by 5-0. Rando Colomwani scoring the best in that one, as well as Francesco Conceição there, the son to Sergio Conceição, both Portuguese. You remember the Portuguese manager who was at FC Porto during the 2023-2024 campaign, but last season was at AC Milan, where he has been since let go and been replaced by Massimiliano Allegri. Of course, the other on the score sheet was Yildiz, who has also been linked with the potential move to Arsenal. So that's the update from the FIFA Club World Cup. Of course, yesterday we did witness Real Madrid share the scores in a 1-1 draw against Saudi Pro League side Al Hilal. Goncalo Garcia scored for Real Madrid, while Ruben Neves stepped up to take a penalty that leveled the scoring for Al Hilal. Real Madrid missed a penalty in that one. Fede Valverde did miss that penalty thanks to Bono in that Al Hilal goal. That was quite impressive, as Simone Inzaghi took charge of his first game in charge of Al Hilal, while Xabi Alonso on the other side was equally taking charge of his first game for Real Madrid. Then, of course, we did also have FC Salzburg. This is Red Bull Salzburg beating up against Pachua by 2-1 in the other game of the FIFA Club World Cup. While today we will have Pyramides up against Al Ahly. That's at 7 p.m. While Inter Miami at 10 p.m. will be up against FC Porto in the late kickoff on the day. So it's 42 minutes into today's broadcast. That's the latest update for me here on the sports desk at Footballtribeug. Thank you so much for those that have managed to be part of us for this morning's broadcast. We do always appreciate your contribution. I would do always appreciate your time. For those that do watch our broadcasts much later after they've aired, we do not take your time for granted. We do appreciate you as well. For those that are interested in acquiring some digital skills like web design, coding, as well as cybersecurity, do not forget to check out our friends at Able State. You do qualify for a 5% discount if you do enroll for any of their training courses there, and they do provide in-person and online training sessions for their students or trainees. They also offer career guidance and help their trainees find jobs in the dynamic digital market post-training. So keep it locked on the Footballtribeug channel. Do not forget to check out our content under the shorts section. Do not forget to check out our videos. Watch them, like, comment, share, give us your feedback where we need to improve, where you have divergent views in regards to what we've given you, and let us know. Otherwise, I wish you the very best of the rest of the day. Have yourselves a wonderful Thursday, and I'll see you next time. If there's any major news to discuss, do not forget, we can always come back here for the lunchtime update. But for now, let's keep it at that, and possibly meet late in the night for our late night broadcast. Remember, like I've informed you guys, we are changing our weekly broadcast from running between 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. to run between at least anywhere between 8:45 a.m. to 10 a.m. We're bringing them much closer so that we give you those updates for time that is more suited to you. Anyways, it's been a wrap. Have yourselves a wonderful rest of the day, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.